Greetings and welcome to another River Radio Sports Central podcast powered by our friends at NovaCare Rehabilitation. Alongside Matt Varney from 103.5 ESPN, I am Darren Kinnard, and we are recording on Friday morning as always. And full disclosure, this is one of my two favorite work days of the year, Regional Final Friday.
Absolutely.
It does not get any better than that for me. The other being first round of the playoffs, that first Saturday.
Yeah.
Those 2 days are just unmatched for me when we have a work day in front of you.
It generally is one of my favorite too, although it usually comes with me doing a game, and we'll get to that here. But that's not to be for me today. But it's still going to be. You got some fantastic matchups here tonight, and I'm looking forward to just seeing all the scores rolling in and maybe catching a game or two.
And what is with the transition from the schedules of separating 1A, 2A from 3A, 4A, and then playing all four classes. Girls playing all four classes, boys, made for a very busy week. Mm-hmm. We had boys regionals Monday, Wednesday, and then championships tonight. We had girls sectional semifinals on Tuesday, the sectional finals last night. I made the trek to Westland to see Bree Central and Nashville, two of the top three teams in the final 2A AP rankings, and the Hornets were fantastic, especially defensively. Emma Bierman was spectacular. Made all 9 of her shots, finished with 21. The Hornets win again, ending Bree Central's season in the sectional finals for the second straight year. 44-36 was the final. And, Maddie, that Nashville team, that experience last year, and Coach Whitty talked about this after the game. He's like, they were loose. They were loose coming into this. And they played like their hair was on fire early and really got going.
That was the cut that I really liked this morning, using on the sportscast, of just talking about just how loose they were and stuff. Because you're going into a sectional final game, generally the nerves are going to get to you one way or another. And some of these teams are going to be a little bit less tight than others, but usually you don't use the word loose talking about a sectional final game pregame. And so that was a really cool thing to add in there to the story right there. And I mean, you could tell without a doubt that they felt like they were just the team that should come in and should win and had no reason to worry one bit, and clearly felt like the December matchup was just kind of a slip-up for them, and better to have those slip-ups then than at this point in the season.
Yeah, and the difference in that game, talking to coach and the players, was, first of all, they got down 10-0 to start. Right. And then they just felt that Bree Central was more physical and really kind of pounded them on the glass and they made a concerted effort that was not going to be the case last night.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard Coach also say the fact that they can play different styles and stuff like that. You play them once and you're like, okay, we didn't bring the right style. Now Coach knows this is what we're going to prepare for here in the day or two that we have to prepare for this game, and we got to get in the right mindset and everything. So fantastic job by Coach Whitty and got them ready, and now they're moving on to the Supers.
Now, the two semifinals were mismatches, and I think most people were afraid of or thought that was going to be the case. Yeah. But Central was so impressive against Harrisburg and their trap, and they were just dominant defensively. But the difference with Nashville is the Brinkman twins are 6 feet and they can handle the ball. And so the traps in that weren't as effective. They were still very good, but they weren't as effective. And then you've got Bierman, who, again, goes for 21. Not only that, but defensively, she locks up Taylor Tramey, who was Central's leading scorer, held her to 6, and she had help. It wasn't just all her. But this was after holding Ava Rush to 7 and no field goals.
Right.
And that's two very different players. Rush is a little jitterbug that can shoot from all over. Tramey's a little bigger, a little more athletic, a little more physical, but still can shoot from all over the floor. And they just couldn't get shots, period.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you referenced the Harrisburg game for Bree Central, and just, basketball is such a fun sport in that it truly is about matchups. Harrisburg could play somebody else in that super sectional, or rather that sectional, and they could potentially come out the winners just based on matchups and everything. They didn't get the best draw for them, but when it comes to last night, Nashville knew exactly what they needed to do, and they take care of business, and just their matchups were better against Bree Central, and again, they had the experience of not just last year, but playing Bree Central already. I wonder what happens if they don't play Bree Central earlier this year, how that experience changes this game as well.
And this was the matchup last year in the Nashville sectional final. And when I looked at the roster at the time, I went, we're probably going to see this again next year. So, and then when you look at Nashville's roster now, there's only one senior in the whole shebang. Yeah. So, I mean, it's incredible what they're accomplishing, and there's still more ahead. They go to Vandalia for the 2A Super Sectional Monday night at 6. They play Camp Point Central. That's the team they beat last year in the Vandalia Super Sectional, 41-32. So, again, there's got to be a feeling, not comfort per se, but just, hey, we're good. We've got a great opportunity here.
What I'm hearing from you is that we're going to hear a lot from people outside of the area that are going to be saying that it's a group of super seniors playing for Nashville next year, because, I mean, that's just how it is. Same with at the college level when it's like, man, they've been there forever. Right. And it seems like you would think, man, they've got to have graduated. Nope, they're all still there. Man, oh man, how much more eligibility do they have?
Well, and the Brinkman twins are sophomores.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, that following May, there's going to be a bunch of coaches make sure they walk across the stage and make sure that that they are gone.
Exactly.
But Nashville's not the only one in 2A. Mount Carmel goes and wins the Paris 2A sectional. They beat T-Town 42-32. So Mount Carmel is on to the Unity 2A sectional, or Super Sectional rather, where they will face Kankakee McNamara, who just absolutely blasted Watseka last night at Herscher. So we have a potential of having 2 Southern Illinois teams in 2A alone.
Yeah, well, and it's great to see Mount Carmel making their return to dominance that has been gone for a little bit. But, I mean, we talked about just with golf specifically the past fall, and just, they've got athletes at Mount Carmel, and they have a taste of dominance, and they like it. Clearly, and so they're saying we're going to go ahead and dominate a little bit more, and here it is in the winter sports now, and they're doing a good job. And just, again, it's great to see Mount Carmel back in to this level of play. It's been a little bit, and now they're competing for, kind of that top spot in Southern Illinois.
And a different type of team, because those previous Mount Carmel teams were led by one of the top, if not the best, high school girls player in not only definitely in school history, but maybe IHSA history.
Right.
Tyra Buss was leading it, and they couldn't get past the sectional. So congratulations to the Lady Aces, and they have an opportunity on Monday night to earn a trip to state. In 1A, Edwards County also moves on as they beat Marissa Coulterville 40-37 in the Trico final. They are headed to Oakville for a date with Carrollton, and Carrollton beat Oakville in the semifinals. Carrollton a 3 seed. So again, like you always hear, you can throw the seeds out, especially at this point. You're pretty good if you get to the Super.
Right, exactly. I mean, all you can really look at is say, okay, Edwards County, they're very battle tested. They've got only 17, 18 wins at this point in the season, which you don't see a lot of teams going to the Super under 20 wins, but they are very battle tested. And then, the fact that Carrollton, they took down the team that was looking to go 3 in a row. This has got kind of a salivating type of matchup right here for a Super.
And I'm guessing the local folks are going to go and that's the toss-up. Do you root for the team that beat you so you can say you lost to them, or do you want to go, hey, get them out of there? Anyway, so that game will be Monday at 7 o'clock at Oakville. In 3A, it was an All-South 7 sectional final at Civic Memorial. They couldn't figure out how to get that thing moved closer, so everybody had to drive to Bethalto last night, and Mount Vernon wins it 74-59. That's a school record 29th win for the Lady Rams, and it's their first Elite 8 appearance. Yeah. They've been to the Super before, but that was back in the 2 classes where the Super was the Sweet 16. So first Elite 8 appearance. This game was the Lady Rams were up 13 at the half, and then Marion got it to 5.
Yeah.
And then it was a 2-point game in the fourth quarter. And then, I think I saw with about 6 minutes left, Kamari Pollard fouled out.
Oh, I didn't see
Mount
that.
Vernon. And so they played the final 6 minutes of crunch time without one of their superstars.
Yeah.
I mean, she is phenomenal at both ends of the floor. And so to be able to pull out that victory and win it by 15, congrats to Coach Lonan and company. Eric Griffin, we've talked about him and the Lady Wildcats on here before.
What a first year.
Great first year, and really sets the table for what's ahead for them. And so a great run for them. But now it's on to the Taylorville 3A Super Monday night at 6 against Quincy Notre Dame, who beat Mahomet Seymour at Glenwood. 57-17 was the final in that one. So it's Mount Vernon and Quincy Notre Dame. and I had somebody throw out, hey, does Mount Vernon have a chance? And because Quincy, Notre Dame, they're ranked second. Mount Vernon's ranked fourth, but Quincy has played a phenomenal schedule. But you look, they've each lost to Bree Central. Mount Vernon lost by 20, Quincy lost by 17, and now Central's at home. it just shows you how good 2A is, and honestly, I think that gives Mount Vernon a puncher's chance anyway here.
I agree.
Again, you get to this point, you anything can happen.
Yeah, they're all good at this point, and just the fact you go out there, you leave it all on the court. If you come away winners, then you're going to get 2 more guaranteed, and if you don't, at least you can say, we put our best foot forward in the Super. It's much better than saying we put our best foot forward in the regional final or something like that.
And I don't know anything about Quincy Notre Dame. The one thing that Mount Vernon has not had to really deal with is somebody that has a lot of size. And so they're a guard-dominated lineup, and you know how that goes. And, if you get some threes to fall early, especially, again, this Lady Rams club is they've won a lot of games, and those seniors especially are a mentally tough group. So, good luck to them on Monday night. Again, that is a 6:00 game. And then 4A, Alton won its own sectional, beating Pekin. They will face Waubonsee Valley in the Bloomington 4A Super. That is on Monday night. Of course, tonight, boys regional finals, as we have all of them across the area, and we'll just kind of go down the list, and we'll look at the 1As, and we'll just kind of keep it closer to home for this. Meridian and Hardin County at Crab Orchard. The Cougars get the upset in the semifinals, beating the Trojans, who were at home. Yeah,
but you know what? Hardin County is, past month or so, quietly, but at the same time, very solid group. Been putting together good wins the past month or so. They've had some big efforts from individual players. Wasn't a huge surprise to me by any means. Obviously, it was the upset, but at the same time, I saw that and I was like, yeah, they had the chance to do that. So now they're going to try to shock the world and take down Meridian, but we'll see what happens tonight.
Well, and Hardin County is a tremendous example of, we talk a lot about scheduling up.
Yeah.
They start the year at the Goreville Invitational, where you're facing the likes of Benton and Goreville. And so now your team's a little more battle-tested. They went 7-0 in the GEC to win the regular season title. So this is a club that's playing well. But, again, we've talked about Meridian all year. This is a team that you kind of penciled into the sectional. Hardin County to be like, wait a minute. But the other thing that kind of stands out, and we've talked about it, probably exhaustively for the past couple of weeks, just about the seedings and the way that, again, that was a 5 and a 3.
Yep.
And that's not supposed to happen.
No.
It's not. And so, 3 is supposed to play 6. And again, you play who's in front of you. I get that. But why are we seeding it if we're not gonna follow the numbers? I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole. So
we already did once before turning on the mics.
And I'm still a little salty about it, and I don't have any dogs in the fight.
I get it.
Anyway, at Goreville, the host Black Cats, the top seed, they will take on the 4 seed Galatia, who had to rally late to beat Cairo in the semifinals. So Goreville Galatia, the battle of the G's in Goreville.
Well, and just like we were just talking about with the Crab Orchard Regional Final, we're talking about another dominant powerhouse team here. Goreville gets to host it, which is fantastic for the Black Cats here. They get that extra advantage. But then the fact that they're going up against another team that has been quiet, but at the same time very solid all season long. Galatia has been picking up wins left and right. Yeah, they had to pick up that come-behind win the other night, but that also shows that they have that ability to do that. Both Meridian and Goreville considered 2 of the top 3 teams in 1A in the area. They have not easy opponents here tonight. It's not cakewalks by any means. They overlook these guys and say, yeah, we're moving on to the sectional. Galatia or Hardin County could be making a surprise trip.
That third one you're talking about is in the championship game at Marissa. That would be Waltonville, the top seed there, facing Steelville. And Steelville's an interesting story, a team that had struggled a bit down the stretch and was down 10 at halftime to Trico in the semifinals. Or actually, that was the quarterfinals on Monday. And they rallied to win that game in overtime. Well, then they pull off an upset by seed. They beat New Athens, who was the 4 seed there at Marissa, beat them by 15. So it wasn't a a nail biter or anything. So now. And Steelville, if you go back, and look at some of our other ones, Steelville was one that we kind of talked about might be a sleeper in 1A when you're looking for that 4th team. They get a chance to shock the world tonight because Waltonville is that 3rd team that we all expect to be at Cobden.
Without a doubt. Steelville, once again, they have had an up and down season a little bit, had some losses that maybe shouldn't have been on that record, but nonetheless, they took those last losses. But, that almost usually when you have a double overtime game that's as emotional as it was, I think if it was the other way around for Trico, I think they would have been emotionally spent. But usually double overtime games, you're pretty emotionally spent. And Steelville instead comes out and just takes care of business like it was nothing, like they were the higher seed.
Right.
It almost seemed like it kind of kicked something in the brain. And now we'll see if it comes on over to tonight as well. But it almost seemed like it kind of kicked something in the brain there to be like, oh, yeah, we went to state a couple years ago. We probably should be playing a little bit better. And so they come out, do a great job in the semifinals. Could be a really good finals here coming up tonight.
And the 4th one that feeds into the Cobden sectional is at Christopher. Oakville is the top seed. Struggled a bit with Cesar Valera in the semifinals, but prevailed with a big 4th quarter to advance. And then Christopher just absolutely bum-rushed Woodlawn in the semis. 14 of 26 from 3 as a team. They were 7 for 7 in the 3rd quarter alone from deep, and they just shot lights out. And they're at home. They have good guard play. They have some size to maybe match up with Oakville. This is an interesting matchup. You wonder, did they use up all their bullets in the semifinals against Woodlawn or not? But this is a team, especially at home, that this is an interesting final to me.
It is, and Woodlawn kind of looked like it might be that 4th team that we're talking about. Not to the tier that the other 3 were. No offense to Woodlawn fans, but or Woodland players, but they just seemed like they were just a step behind the other 3. But they seemed like they were that 4th team in 1A, and just Christopher takes care of business. And something was in the air apparently, because I was told that a lot of media folks, obviously we were at different places, but I was told a lot of media folks showed up for that semifinal night, and the person that was there was just like, why is everybody?
Well, they were the best matchups.
Without a doubt.
And I ended up getting there at the second half for the Christopher game because I'm listening to it, and Christopher's up like 24-4 early.
Yeah,
Woodlawn got it back to 10 by half, and I'm like, okay, we'll have a good second half. Well, next thing you know, it's back to 20 because they went 7 for 7 from 3. So the Bearcats, again, I think that's a very interesting one.
Well, just the one thing about Christopher is that the things that I had heard about them, and just I haven't had a chance to see them or anything, but just the fact that that they had said we are committed to running this offense right here, and I mean it took most of the season to get there, but clearly it's clicking on all cylinders right now, and so that commitment right there, and then being battle tested in that tough Black Diamond conference, just everything kind of seemed to work out really well, and I'm interested to see how far this Bearcat team can go.
Another interesting one in the sectional to the north and east at Weber. The host Trojans, the top seed, get the 6th seed in Christ Our Rock Lutheran, who came up with the upset win in the semifinals. Christ Our Rock, of course, the team that made the Supers last year. So this is an experienced group that's had some postseason experience. So that's again. You would think Weber being at home, they would be the favorite. They're the top seed, but that's certainly not a gimme there.
Well, and just like you said, that 6 is a little bit misleading because Christ Our Rock Lutheran going to the Supers last year, and then they're playing really good teams in the regular season, so that affects their seeding a little bit. They were playing Althoff twice this year in the Metro East conference that they're in. Just that's a team that is very battle tested. I think they're sitting at like 14-17 or something like that. Like they are coming in with a losing record, I'm pretty sure, but they've been playing great teams. They're playing great basketball, and right now that's one that again, it's 1A is a very appetizing regional final night tonight. Just every matchup looks fantastic.
And some of the other games that are feeding into the Red Hill sectional at South Central, it's Dietrich and North Clay City. At Moweaqua Central A&M, it's St. Anthony and Arcola. And at Chrisman, it's KZ Westfield and Tuscola. So on to 2A at Hamilton County, the Benton Rangers, the top seed in the subsectional. We'll get the 4th seed, the Carterville Lions, in the championship game tonight and in Jerry Sloan Gymnasium. And this is the 3rd or 4th time these two have played, and Carterville's red hot. They've won 8 in a row, and so again, you go down the list. That's an interesting game. That's an interesting game. That and this falls in that category.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Carterville, it's one of those times that. We talk about it, and we'll talk about it here in a second, but about just the third meeting. Carterville has not picked up a win against Benton, but that doesn't mean they can't in the third. Carterville, very defensive team. They play defense great. They're at full power, and as you said, they are red hot right now. This is one of those times where you can't call a playoff game a trap game, but it almost feels like a trap game for Benton right now, where if they don't take this one seriously, and they will, obviously, Ron Weinmiller will take care of business, but it's one of those ones where if everything is rolling for Carterville, Benton better look out. I mean, Dr. Tedeschi's fantastic. They got a great team in Benton, but Carterville might have the pieces. And so we'll see here tonight, especially with just everything going in their direction.
They've certainly figured some things out here in the final weeks of the regular season. Next up, the AJ 2A Regional, and I know this will pick a scab a little bit.
It's
but
fine.
We've got a 6 and a 5 in the championship game, Massac County and Vienna. And the Patriots upset the top-seeded Red Devils from Murfreesboro in the semis, 59-52. And then Vienna gets a buzzer beater to beat Harrisburg. Again, you can look at seed numbers and know that that's not the way it was supposed to be if you were to do it completely right. But at the end of the day, again, you have to play who's in front of you. And the Patriots, we've talked about on here that's a team you don't want to face because you're looking at a Hall of Fame guy. That was win number 750 for him.
Yes.
Wednesday night.
At that school.
Right.
He's got 800 plus.
Right.
On the career,
750 at Massac. Yeah. So, just the fact that, this is a guy that knows how to win ball games and certainly knows how to win postseason ball games.
Joe Hossman, yeah, exactly. He knows what he's doing over there. He fired his guys up, and he I guarantee you said, this is a conference opponent. This is one of our biggest rivals, and we're going to go out there. He's been figuring this out for a while. Him and Daryl Murphy are very close friends, but when you get down to it, he said, this time we're not friends, Daryl, and we're going to take it to you, and that's what his guys did. And Jack Turner, fantastic in that game. He was unconscious. In the second quarter, he had 13. The third quarter, he had another 9, finished with 22 points, and probably the biggest 3 in all of Southern Illinois that night with that third quarter at the end to hit it. If you haven't seen that buzzer beater, Job Winterroad in the other game did a fantastic job, but that wasn't a 3. So that's why I'm saying that was the biggest 3 of that night. But still, I mean, that entire night was just a crazy night at Anna Jonesboro.
No question. And, Turner's a guy that has really turned it on. A senior, finishing it out and going out in style. He set the school record a couple weeks ago.
That's
I believe he had like 41 in a game or 42. So he is certainly a guy that can go off. And again, Massac and Vienna, we've seen it.
We have.
Again, that's going to be the third meeting between those two. Vienna's won the first 2 this year. And we've seen this in regional finals the past couple of years. And so, again, that's an interesting fight.
It is. Well, and Berlin Brower and Joe Hosman just, again, Berlin is new to the area.
Hall of Famer? I've got a Hall of Famer.
Exactly. Berlin's Hall of Famer in Kentucky, but he's still a Hall of Famer. I mean, he does a great job. And this is just year 1 with the Eagles. I think that better days are ahead for the Eagles, one way or not, whether they win tonight or not. This was just, I think, the floor for the Vienna Eagles with Berlin Brower this year. Stephen Dreer did a great job the past couple of years with him. I think, again, this is the floor for Vienna, not the ceiling by any means. They're going to get better and better every single year. But also Massac County, they're going to get better and better every year. This was an atypical season for the Patriots. They do not usually come into the postseason with a losing record, but they're very young. Even though they have 6 seniors, they're very young. They lean on a lot of sophomores. And so they are going to be very good in the next couple of years. This was a down year, and at this point, they're working with house money.
Yeah, absolutely. So, regional final in AJ tonight, Massac County and Vienna. Out of the other subsectional, again, we called it the subsectional of death, and so far, the seeds have held, at least the top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
It was an interesting path to get there. But at Chester tonight, you got Altoff, the top seed, against Pinckneyville. The seedings don't go by state rankings. The final, whether it was AP or whether it was Nesto, pick your rankings. Altoff and Pinckneyville were in the top 2 or 3 in all of them. They're going to meet for a regional final tonight in Chester, and that thing apparently has been long sold out. As there wasn't a ton of tickets available, and they were snapped up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I was asked this morning about, because not just high school, but you got college basketball and of course pros going on as well. But I was asked this morning, what's the biggest game this weekend? And without hesitation, I said it's that one. Pinckneyville, Altoff. It's going to be a really interesting game. I think that they are probably those two. They got to come in, I think, as the favorites of the sectional. It is just what it is. I mean, they're just both fantastic teams. So this one, some people are going to say that state was decided tonight. I don't know about that so much, but it is definitely a regional final that probably shouldn't be a regional final, but that's how it's drawn up. And so the people that are going to get to witness it in Chester's gym in person, I'm envious of them.
Right. And the other one, the Carlisle 2A regional final, is pretty dang good, too.
Yeah.
You got Bree Central and Columbia, 2 Cahokia, Mississippi rivals going at it. Columbia, we've talked about them. They were the one that, coming into the season, a lot of people pointed to them. They had a lot of guys back. They had a guy move over from Missouri, and it took them a while to get all the pieces together, but they appear to have figured it out here down the stretch. But one of their losses down the stretch was to Central, who just, a lot like their girls team, will just flat defend you as soon as you get off the bus. So that, again, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, exactly. Every single, it's not every year that we look at
record over here.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, it's true. It's not every year that you have almost every regional final. It's like, I'm interested in that one and that one. Usually there's a couple, and no offense to past regional finals, but just there's usually a couple stinkers. Right. And this year it doesn't seem to be that way. Even the AJ one, just because Massac County and Varney have that history and the fact that they are seated so close together, it makes it an interesting matchup. And so at the same time, this one, though, in Carlisle, very interested to see because, they just met not too long ago, and Bree Central, just like their football team, just like their girls basketball team, just always seems to be rolling and, like you said, defends you very well. But at the same time, Columbia was definitely, I think, kind of the preseason favorite in at least the 6-1-8, if nothing else, of just going around and being like, you didn't have to know anything about them, but you talked to somebody that kind of had the whole area on lockdown, and they were like, Columbia is the favorite, without a doubt. And so, because I never, coming in, I didn't know anything about them, but then everyone just kept saying Columbia, and I said, well, it must be Columbia then, and they've done pretty well for themselves. You kind of look at, you mentioned, took them a minute to kind of get things gelling, kind of looks like how you see like maybe the Los Angeles Lakers might be looking in the summer, just something like that, where you have a bunch of great guys together, takes them a minute to get it going, but then when it comes time to actually play the big ones, they're playing the way they should be.
All right, now let's shift gears to the 2A regionals that feed into the Unity sectional. And at Fairfield tonight, the top-seeded T-Town Wooden Shoes will get the host Mules, who won in overtime in an upset by seed, beating Marshall, the 3-seed, the other night. So the Mules are playing really well. They won the Black Diamond East outright, and now they get a regional final at home against a T-Town team that's always, one of these teams that you look at and you go, okay, they're T-Town. But again, the opportunity to play this at home is big for Fairfield.
I've got one thing to say. That's an interesting one.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That way I didn't have to say it. You were waiting on it.
I was ready for it.
So, but I mean, again, it's one of those games, and this is always hard when you're a top seed. And I know there's been some complaints, about this and some of the things that, on social media, you'll get feedback on stuff you post. And one of the things is, if you're a top seed, you should not have to play a lower seed on their home floor. And this is an example. And again, if you're a top seed, you should win. But there are those that say you should seed the you should seed the sectional, and the top 4 seeds get to host the regionals.
And I can get that, but in the current system right now,
right, this is what we're dealing with.
This is what you're dealing with, and it's not like Fairfield just got everybody to roll over for them. They had to fight for this. Not only did they have to bid to get the site, but then they had to fight to get here. Again, they won in overtime against a very good Marshall team. So while I hear what the people are saying, this is also a 5 seed. It's not like it's a 10 seed that's getting, which if it was a 10 seed, I'd say even more so. They deserve it. But, this isn't like it's too far off the beaten path here. It's a 5 seed. They had to win in overtime to get there. They deserve it. I hear what people are saying, but at the same time, you know what the deal is when you're going in there. Until IHSA walks in and says, nope, it's going to be the top 4 seeds. They get to host the regional. It's what you're dealing with, and that Fairfield deserves it.
Right. And one of the others that, if a little more regional appeal in the Paris 2A regional final, it's Lawrenceville, the top seed, versus the hosts there. That's also a 7:00 tip. So on to 3A, and we've got a couple of doozies for our teams.
Yep.
At Effingham, the top seed in the subsectional, Centralia, will face the Heron Tigers, and so you've got 2 teams, especially Heron, making a long road trip to Effingham. But again, this is a pretty interesting matchup.
It's a pretty interesting one. Centralia has been, in terms of our immediate area, the favorite almost all season long until maybe the past 3 weeks or so. They've been considered the top team basically by everybody, and they faltered a little bit here at the end of the season, taking a couple of conference losses, but nonetheless, they are still a very good team. But Heron and Kyrie's Lukens can propel a team to victory by himself. Then he's got a pretty good crew around him. They're going to be putting up a great challenge against Centralia. And honestly, when it comes down to it, Dustin Dustin Collins from Centralia, fantastic matchup for him. No offense to the Heron Bigs, but then on the other side, Kyrie's has a fantastic matchup for him. I think they're both licking their chops here tonight. And so it could be a dueling type of thing, or we could say next week what we've been saying past couple of, not past couple weeks, but a couple times this year. Came down to Archie Guai. Who knows?
Right. I mean, he always seems to play at another level when it comes tournament time. But I think in this one especially, I think it's important for Heron to withstand that initial surge.
Yes.
I think you're going to get that from Centralia. I think that they had an impressive win in the semis, but that's not Centralia.
Right.
And so. They can't end up in a quick 12-2 hole or something. Yeah. And the other thing is that, when you don't play a ton of 3A games and you are 3A, it's officiated different. And I don't have any idea who's the stripes up there. But if it's more physical, you're going to have to play through it. And those are some of the things. And that guy on the other bench just won his 700th game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot for Heron to overcome. But again, this has been a talented group, and they've got the firepower if they can figure out some things, especially offensively.
And Grady Cox for Heron has been a fantastic player the past couple of years. This year specifically, he's been kind of the Robin to Kyrese's Batman, and he does have the body to be able to knock it up against Collins. So that will be an interesting matchup, without a doubt, here tonight. It may come down to that matchup, truly. Centralia has some good guards, but it really is Archie Guai and Dustin Collins going up against Kyrie's Lukens and Grady Cox here tonight, and then all the other role players will be filling in one way or another. So I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. I hope it's down to the wire, quite honestly, because anything else just feels like you're getting short of change.
You kind of described NBA Jam there for a while. I thought you were going to have like a high school edition
Why
of
don't
that.
we?
So,
Why don't we?
Anyway, so
kind of like 8-man football.
Yeah. Well, that's another topic for another day. So the other one's the Carbondale 3A regional final, and it's Mount Vernon and Marion. And these two just played. The two schools just played last night in girls sectional final. These boys teams have played twice in the last 3 weeks, and so this will make 3 times in 17 days. The first one went to Mount Vernon in double overtime on a free throw with no time on the clock. Marion won by 3 last Friday night on senior night, and now you get the tiebreaker here for the plaque on a neutral site. it would be hard to fathom anything other than just a tight game down the stretch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could make a movie just on this series alone, honestly. I mean, because it's been so close each and every time, and the games have been so close. You don't have to focus on anything else the rest of the movie. Just 3 games. It's been great. It's been dramatic, and I expect the final chapter of this season's matchup to be the most explosive by for sure. I'm very interested in this one too. Might be the most interesting one of the entire night, though.
Very much so. And in the other regionals that feed into the Marion sectional, so that's the other extra motivation for the Wildcats, the ability to come home for the sectional. At Highland tonight, it's the host Bulldogs in East St. Louis. At Waterloo, it's Triad and Waterloo. So you got a couple of home teams in the regional finals there. Again, those winners come to Marion. In 2A, for our group, Carterville is a host in addition to Tolono Unity, and in 1A, you're looking at the Cobden. Cobden is one of the, and I'm trying to look real quick to see where the other one is, the one that goes east, Red Hill. I had a brain block there, but so Red Hill and Cobden are your sectional sites next week, and so again, the way this sets up, you got Monday girls super sectional, Tuesday, Wednesday, boys sectional semis, girls state starts on Thursday, and then sectional finals for boys on Friday.
And in terms of the sectionals also, I mean, you got, as you mentioned, Cobden, Carterville, Marion. You could hit all 3 sites in a night. Now you're gonna have to really boogie, and you're gonna have to probably miss a lot of each game. But you could hit all 3 if you can get tickets to all 3.
And that ticket at Cobden is going to be tough.
Yes.
But the one thing that I am most appreciative of, Cobden starting at 6, and the others are starting at 7. Yes. So the staggered start times helps your friendly video guy out. So that's a big deal there. Also this weekend, wrestling will wrap up. Congrats to the Murfreesboro Red Devils who won their sectional match, and they will be in the 1A state quarterfinals against Woodstock Marion tonight at 5, or this evening at 5. The other quarterfinals, Coal City and Stanford Olympia, Vandalia and Chicago Hope Academy, and Oregon Tolono Unity. Tomorrow they will have the semifinals and then the 2 trophy games, or the 2 trophy meets. And then the girls wrestling, the individual is also in Bloomington this weekend. They all hold it at the same place, and so we have a handful of area wrestlers that are there. And of course, we'll have all the results updated tonight on riverradiosportscentral.com. So again, the winter stuff is we're getting real close to wrapping it up and calling it a season. Coming to a head, and I mean, I'll just finish it out here by saying, it's an interesting matchup. Everything's an interesting matchup, and it's true, though. It really is. Like, you look at it, this is one of the most salivating nights that we have had in a long time. You know, it's not just like it's your favorite night of the year type of thing. It's that you've been treated extra here. You ordered a pizza and you got 2 pizzas instead, kind of, you know? Right. And for me, the hard part, though, is picking out where to go. Right. That's the hard one. And at the time of this recording, that's still TBD to be determined. And sometimes, you know, just getting you a little behind the curtain, sometimes that decision's made when I get in the car. Yeah. So I get that. I get that completely. Well, that's going to do it for this River Radio Sports Central podcast, powered by our friends at NovaCare Rehabilitation. For Matty V, I'm Darren Kinnard. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, or wherever you tune in. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.